Good to have you back with us. The Republican House GOP budget is a direct jab at the middle class and low-income Americans. President Obama slammed the proposal today in Cleveland.
Lower taxes for the most well-off, higher taxes for working families, gutted investments in education, job training, infrastructure, military, and our national security, kicking tens of millions of Americans off their health insurance, ending Medicare as we know it.
The House says it could balance the budget in 9 years, all at the expense of Medicaid and food stamps. Medicare would be partially privatized and corporations would get a hefty tax cut. Over in the Senate, the Republicans' budget isn't as harsh. The Republicans in the Senate are concerned about retaining seats in the 2016 election, so they went easier on cuts and privatization.
Chairman Enzi has gone to great lengths to produce a responsible budget, one that makes tough choices to protect and safeguard important safety net programs.
Well, the Congressional Progressive Caucus is stepping up. The CPC wants to protect food assistance programs and make corporate taxes fair. Their budget came out today. Joining me tonight is the co-chairs of the Progressive Caucus, Congressman Keith Ellison of Minnesota, and also Congressman RAUL Grijalva of Arizona. Gentlemen, great to have you with us tonight. You first, Congressman. You bet. Congressman Grijalva, you first. Is the House Republican budget, is it ruthless or realistic? Could we do this in 9 years?
It's ruthless and it's mean. It's mean-spirited. This budget doubles down on the practices for the last decade plus of breaks for the super rich and corporate America, and shifting the burden of taxation and the burden of everyday life to the middle class, and further aggravating those that want to be part of the middle class, the poor and the working poor, more and more. Our budget is about jobs, it's about those families, and it's about taking care of the vast majority of the American people.
Congressman Ellison, what does the Progressive Caucus view as a budget that would set itself apart from the president's and also the Republicans?
Well, our primary measurement for what we think makes a good budget is job creation. So we're 8.4 million jobs by 2018. That's not a number we pulled out of the sky. That the Economic Policy Institute, used their fancy computers, and that is the number we come up with the $820 billion investment that we put in infrastructure to make sure that our roads and our bridges aren't falling into the rivers and we're not busting water mains and things like that. We're putting America back to work. We also put $95 billion into helping local governments put workers back on who were lost in the recession, like teachers, like police officers, like firefighters, like health workers and people like that who really just kind of make the city go right. So we make the proper investments to make America strong. And if you don't mind me adding this, Ed, we do a universal pre-K for the little ones. We make a down payment on higher education, for free higher education, so that people can go all the way through.
The Republicans view this as just wasteful spending. Congressman Grijalva, do they have investment in their budget as you see it?
No, they're working on that theory, a bankrupt theory, that everything will trickle down from the breaks that the super rich and corporations are getting, that the rest of us are going to inherit something, but the fact of the matter is that everything has gotten worse. And the middle class, their insecurity about the future is very real. As Keith said, this is an investment. This is a budget about prosperity and growing this nation. The austerity that we've seen for a decade plus from Republicans has produced great wealth for the upper 1%, great wealth for corporations, but the rest of America finds its jobs stagnant and its salary stagnant.
It's more of the same. There's no question about it. Congressman Ellison, tell us about the climate change provision. There's nothing in the Republican budget that deals anything with climate change. And after our opening segment tonight, it's amazing that they can even deny what the heck is going on in this country and also view what China's doing. But tell me about the climate change provision in your budget.
Well, what we do is we say that the big, gas and oil and natural gas folks, that they shouldn't have public subsidy. They're a profitable industry. They're doing fine. They should just operate within the market like the Republicans think they should. So we just take their subsidy away. We don't penalize them, and we take them. And instead of putting the money there, we put it into trying to deal with climate change and making sure that we're doing things like that. We have a carbon tax. We do put a price on carbon, and we promote green and renewable investment. But we have a bill called the End Polluter Welfare Act, and we have put that bill into our bill, which is basically just to take subsidy away from big oil, big gas, and so that's what we're doing.
And finally, gentlemen, I've got to get a comment from you. The president in Cleveland today talking about jobs, talking about investment, yet his trade negotiator, Mr. Froman, and his labor secretary, Mr. Perez, were holding a secret meetings at the White House, security meetings at the White House on Trade Promotional Authority and the TPP. And I know that your caucus is against this deal.
Right.
Congressman Grijalva, wasn't this a day of mixed messages?
Well, there's a contradiction there, and as Keith can amplify, we're opposed to the fast track. We think as members of Congress, we have to have a role in protecting jobs here in America, the environment, and for all the nations involved, raising the standard of living and helping all. But we're for trade. It has to be fair. It has to be balanced, and fast track doesn't do it. And the agreement overall, without any substantive changes, it's not going to work.
And Congressman Ellison, is this an 11th hour sell job by the president and his administration? What was this today?
Well, I think they're nervous about getting this thing passed. I mean, everybody in Congress has seen trade deals that promised a lot and gave very, very little. In fact, actually took away.
Folks aren't there, are they?
No, they're not there, so they're a little worried. But you know what? Look, we're not worried about trade, but we are worried about bad investment deals that offshore American jobs and stagnate our wages, and we're not going to support that, even though the president is good on jobs and good on a few other things. We can't go with him on this, even though we support him on a whole lot of other things.
Stand tall, gentlemen. Do that. I appreciate it. Congressman Keith Ellison, Congressman Raul Grijalva. Good to have both of you with us tonight. Thanks.